Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Grown Folks Business on this beautiful Thursday evening. It started off with the torrential downpour and storms and rains, and then the sun came out, and I think I saw a couple of rainbows. I'm not sure though. I don't really know, but I saw something. It got beautiful out there. Tonight, we had a change of topic. I'm still looking forward to unpacking what mental hygiene is, and we'll get to that probably in 2 weeks because I know I have a hiatus next week. But yeah, there was a incident that took place at the Oscars in front of the world that everybody's been talking about, and I want to make it clear I'm not coming at this from some tea sipping perspective or some gossipy type narrative. If you're familiar with grown folks business, that's not what we do here. We're going a little deeper, I hope. So I've got some really good people in the space, and I'm glad that quite a few of them can make it. And I see Ajane slid in during the break. I appreciate you showing up and showing out, as I know you will. That's a colleague of mine, and I hold her in very high regard, as I do all of you in the square. So I'm glad we have a diverse panel, diverse crowd. So I'll begin with what the topic is. I'm going to say a bunch of stuff, and I'll play a couple of clips, and then we'll just come back, and I want to just go around the space and kind of wrestle and unpack this thing. So the topic is excusing the inexcusable. Chris, Will, Oscar, and the protection of Black women. I think that last part, the protection of Black women, is critical to this discussion because, in my opinion, it's been interjected in a space and place it doesn't necessarily belong. And I'll say this outright. I think Will Smith's behavior was atrocious. Thought it was terrible. And I can explain further why as we go along. But I'll say this also about the Academy Awards as a whole and in general. I thought it confirmed or depicted a number of stereotypes that are not, in my opinion, reflective of the Black American community. From the hypersexuality of Black women to this fascination with hip hop and gangster flicks and gangsterism. I don't know if you know what I'm speaking of, but Puff Daddy, P Diddy, whatever he goes by now, introduced this recognition and a homage to the Godfather. Hey, how you doing there? Good to see you. So he introduced it with some hip hop tinged in, and I remember The Godfather, great series of films, but I don't remember any Black people being centered in those films. And one of the most problematic things with that was, I recall a scene in the movie where they're trying to decide where to sell drugs in the 60s or 70s, and they say, keep it out of our neighborhood, sell it in the N words in the other minorities' neighborhood. So what was that all about? But then we got the icing on the cake, which was when Will Smith assaulted Chris Rock for telling a joke that may have been in poor taste, but by no means deserved that level of reaction. So with that part being framed, I'll definitely be coming back to you guys for your thoughts. I'm going to play, as I stated, some clips I think that give us, especially those who didn't watch or who are not terribly familiar with what happened, give us some insight. But I'm thinking everybody here probably knows that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Academy Awards. So I'm going to play like 3 clips. They're relatively short, but it'll give us a better understanding of what we're about to discuss, I believe. And I'll explain something else after I'm done with playing the clips. So here we go with the share screen thing. I think we got it. So here's one. This is after. This is when he wins the award.
Williams was a fierce in this time in my life, in this moment, I am overwhelmed by what God is calling on me to do and be in this world. Making this film, I got to protect Ingenue Ellis, who was one of the most strongest, most delicate people I've ever met. I got to protect Sanaya and Demi, the two actresses that played Venus and Serena. I'm being called on in my life to love people and to protect people and to be a river to my people. I know to do what we do, you got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you got to be able to have people disrespecting you. You got to smile and you got to pretend like that's okay. But Richard Williams, and what I loved, thank you, Dave. Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, he said, at your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you. I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. This is a beautiful moment, and I'm not crying for winning an award. It's not about winning an award for me. It's about being able to shine light on all of the people, Tim and Trevor and Zach and Sanaya and Demi and Ingenue and the entire cast and crew of King Richard and Venus and Serena, the entire Williams family. Art imitates life. I look like the crazy father, just like they said. I look like crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams. But love will make you do crazy things. Being able to love and care for my mother, my family, my wife. I'm taking up too much time. Thank you for this honor. Thank you for this moment. I thank you on behalf of Richard and Oracene, the entire Williams family. Thank you. Hope the Academy invites me back. Thank you.
Watched it unfold, and then what happened after?
I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless. It really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the audience and done that, they would have been escorted out by security or maybe even arrested. They should have had to file charges. they asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
Yeah, what the hassle? I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time. If you want to yell from the audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you know, you do not have the right to walk on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
No, I agree. I think we all agree on that. I just thought, Jim, that it escalated to that. You know what I mean? That it escalated to that level.
It didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated. And I wish him the best. I really do. I don't have anything against Will Smith. He's done great things. But that was not a good moment. It cast a pall over everybody's shining moment last night. A lot of people worked really hard to get to that place and to have their moment in the sun and to get their award for the really hard work they did. And it is no mean feat to go through all the stuff you have to go through when you're nominated for an Oscar. It's a gauntlet of devotion that you have to do. And it's just a selfish moment that cast a pall over the whole thing.
All right, so I picked those clips primarily. I wanted more of what he was able to do after the assault. The last clip where Jim Carrey's giving his opinion on the matter actually shows the moment that he assaulted Chris Rock. And I picked Jim Carrey's response because I started to notice on social media this idea that race played some role in who got to say what or show observances or have opinions about what Will Smith did to another black man. Jim Carrey is more of Will Smith's peer than a lot of the people who are expressing these biased opinions based on race. They're actors, Hollywood people. I don't know the last time Will Smith has been in a neighborhood that is largely populated by black people. And that's not a judgment. That's a fact. I mean, he doesn't live a typical black American life. And Jim Carrey is more of his peer. And Jim Carrey's observations are more in line with a reasonable person. There was no standing ovation that should have been received at that moment. It was shock and awe, and it should have remained that even when he received this award, and did not apologize to Chris Rock, but apologized to the Academy and everybody else. So I had a big issue with it. I also thought that it slid down that slippery slope of showing who could be victimized without consequence and who could be victimized and it not be understood that they were the victim, but the question of they had to do something to deserve that is always the one that comes up. And that's generally black men. If there's a racial thing to be discussed, it's some of that. It's not who has an opinion or a right to express what they thought they witnessed that evening. He was in a room full of his peers. I said the Academy Awards is probably one of the least individual security oriented events because everybody in that space is famous. Everybody in that space are on the same plane and they understand what they command. And I think that's what Jim Carrey was alluding to when he said he messed up the club or whatever he said. So with all of that being said, all of those clips being played, I am very interested to know what you guys thought or what you think in real time or what you thought when it happened and all of that good stuff. So Ajane, I'm going to begin with you since your name starts with an A. That's the easy way to go. So I'm glad you could make it and welcome from Houston. So have at it.
Well, thank you for having me. And is that really the reason why you want to start with me? I don't think so, but it's okay. You've been a good comrade for a long time, so I won't bust you out. But I'm so pleased to be here with all of you all. Y'all, I have so many thoughts. The first thing that I think should be addressed. Above all, is Jada Pinkett okay after being publicly humiliated? In a room full of folks that are not people of color, the butt of the joke was one of the very few Black women in the room, and about something like her hair, which Chris Rock, having made the Good Hair video, he's been under fire before about all of the ways that he has ridiculed things that are traditionally really touchy topics about Black women. And so, honestly, one of the charges that I'm giving to the community that's been tasked with responding to this is, are we missing another point? Will Smith's reaction is absolutely something that we have to have a conversation about. But are we missing the point that a Black woman was publicly humiliated about her hair? It became about the men, and it became about the reaction to the ridicule. But is it okay to ridicule a Black woman's hair? And come to find out, and I can't verify because, you know, I'm not really on social media, but many people are saying that she shaved her hair because of a medical condition. But the questions that I have and the charges that I have is, A, why is it acceptable for some of the few Black people that are entertaining? Why is the entertainment have to be jokes about other Black people? Who wrote the joke? If Chris Rock did not write the joke, who wrote that? Why is that automatically what comes to mind in a space of entertainment? Why is it acceptable for something like that to be done? And frankly, I don't think it's okay to joke on any woman about her hair because it's so touchy. And oftentimes, hair is a good indicator about where a woman is in her life. Some women come from cultures where you cut your hair shorter when you get older. All of these different things, like hair is so spiritual, you know, and being a spiritual being, hair is wisdom, and it means so much even to me. And so I think that before we even get to Will Smith reacting, is Jada Pinkett okay? Because coming to a space like that with hundreds of people there, and what did it take for this woman to build her confidence up enough to be able to sit in the audience, knowing that her hair doesn't look the way that it's looked for 20 years, knowing that maybe somebody's going to ask me, but I got to hold my head up. We don't know if she cried before she came in there. We don't know if she spent weeks and weeks trying to find a perfect dress, something to take the attention on. We don't know how she dealt with that. So those are my questions. Why is it okay that in a room full of white folks, that when Black folks that are entertainers get up, the butt of the jokes always have to be Black folks? To me, it looks too much like some shows that, you know, that I don't even want to bring up right now. So that's my little spiel for right now. I have a lot more thoughts, but I'm not going to take up too much more time.
No, you're good. You're good. I appreciate you sharing that. You gave me some different ways to view the situation. As a practical thinker, I get so much of what you're expressing under normal circumstances. I truly do, because I think a lot of people that witnessed it kind of put it in a regular setting. A bad joke at a place like that gets a bad look, or gets a fist wag, or like, that's not funny. And it could have been a whole different outcome if it remained as a bad joke. And Ajane, everything you're discussing may have come up post that, and it might have been a conviction of Chris Rock's poor taste and the insensitivity that you're unpacking right now. But that's not the part that catches everybody's attention. It is the reaction of her husband, because there was a laugh, and there was a big laugh, but he'd been fake laughing all night, in my opinion. And then for that reaction to be what it was, that's not the space. That's not a supermarket with your wife and somebody insults her, or a public place. That is a setting where comedians do that to everyone. Everyone can get it when it's the Academy Awards. It's supposed to be a place where these great big stars are brought down to earth and generally maligned by the host. In this case, Chris wasn't hosting. He was just giving out an award. He could have got it Chris later. If you got more to say, just kind of keep it concise for me, but you're good because I want to get around. But go ahead, respond.
But so everyone has been saying anyone can get it. But let's take a look at the history of the jokes. How many women in the audience have been joked on about their hair?
I have no idea, but if you wanted to really go deeper into the joke, it was an incorporation of Demi Moore's hair in the movie G.I. Jane. So I don't look at it as I did not look at the joke as a condemnation of her hair, or did I think he had the knowledge that she had alopecia. I think it was just a bad joke. It didn't go over well, and it could have been left at that. That's the worst feeling a comedian can have, if he tells a joke and nobody laughs.
I'll make one more statement, short sentence, because like I said, I have so much more to say about this, but I think that's precisely the point, that we're always quick to ridicule actions. Those actions deserve to be ridiculed. Let me be very clear. But is that okay? Is it okay? Is it fine? And like I said, how many women have been joked on about their hair in a space like the Oscars? I haven't seen that in my lifetime. And that brings up a whole different standpoint, because if we're willing to brush past the fact that she was humiliated, then I don't really think that people are willing to talk about the actual problem. So
I don't think we're brushing past the humiliation. I think Will's actions overshadow the potential for that discussion and unpacking of humiliation. And her haircut, what she at one point was doing punk rock stuff. She's known to have some type of flamboyant hairdos at points in times. None of that makes a difference. It still was not the greatest of joke anyway. His reaction is what made everything so terrible. Celeste, give me some of your thoughts and opinions on this matter, and we gonna get around this space. So y'all hold on. Don't let go.
Me personally, I feel like we have turned this into a Black thing when it's really not. Like, yeah, a Black woman's feelings were hurt, but when you go to these award shows, somebody in the audience gets their feelings hurt. Like, Rebel Wilson got called fat one year at an award show. What's the Lady Gaga, when she wore the meat dress, like vegans threw stuff at her. People were talking about her. Like, when you're a celebrity, you open yourself up to this. Like, at award shows, they make fun of people, especially when comedians host it. Like, we all remember 2005, Monique came out shaking that thing to Beyonce, and she roasted on people in the audience. Shoot, she roasted on herself. Like, that's what comedians do at award shows. Now, when we go down the list, Chris Rock does have a history of attacking Black women, especially in his comedy shows. So I honestly feel that the joke was inappropriate, but if it would have came from somebody else, it might have flew over a little bit better. And Chris Rock, this is not a joke he rehearsed. He made up that joke in the moment. And when I heard the joke, I thought he was talking about her dress. She wore an all green look, and it was like a vest. It kind of gave like a militaristic vibe. So that's what I thought he was talking about at first. It took me a second to realize he was talking about her hair. And I was like, well, she looks beautiful, so I don't get where this joke is coming from. It was a bad joke. It should have fell flat. But like you said, Will was fake laughing. Because let's face it, we've all seen Will Smith laugh in real life, and it ain't no ha 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 ha. So yeah, Chris Rock attacks Black women. It was a bad joke. It should have just fell flat. But Will Smith's reaction, this is when we get into Will and Jada. Will was the act of a desperate man. Ever since Jada started Red Table Talk and she went public talking about her entanglements and how Will was bad at sex when they first got together and how Will was trying to have sex with her all day to get it right, she put all of their business out there. So Will has been the butt of a whole lot of jokes for the last, 3-4 years? And my wife is offended. I fake laugh. My wife is offended. And people are going to call me soft if I don't say anything, because people are already making fun of Will because he never attacked August Alsina. He stayed with a woman who was still in love with Tupac. Like, it's a lot that goes into Will's whatever. Like, right after it happened, the first meme that popped up was Jada sitting in her seat with the words, Tupac would have shot him, saying Will should have done more. Like, Will gets made fun of for being quote unquote soft all the time. And I feel like the actions of a desperate man, like, all lights and cameras are on me. So I got to make a big stand that I'm hard and I can stand up for my wife, XYZ. And it's like, Will did the emotional thing, but Chris Rock did the professional thing by standing there, because ain't no grown man, especially no black man from the hood, finna get smacked clean across the jaw. Like, Shannon Sharp had it right. If a white man would have cleared his jaw like that, everything would have broke loose. Because if a white man smacks a black man in the face, we going back to slavery feelings, and the ancestors gonna rise up and fight. That's just what's gonna happen. But in that moment, Chris did the professional, Will did the emotional. And one thing people aren't talking about, Jada's feelings were hurt. I get that. As a black woman, you talk about my hair. Shoot, I'm gonna be honest with you. Some days it do look raggedy, because some days this weave is thrown up in a bun with a headband on, and you can see all the tracks, lace closures, sewing stitches. Look, it is what it is. Now, when I go out, I make sure it look right. There's photographic evidence of that. But Jada looked beautiful. The joke should have fell flat. But one thing people don't talk about is how Jada manipulates Will. No man wants to be embarrassed and have the whole world told that his sexual activity is not up to par. No man wants it out there that you chose to be with your son's friend, who is half of your age, because you are not satisfied in your marriage. And Jada gave one look off camera that let Will know he needed to do something. Jada, though it might not be intentional, I don't know these people, so I'm only going off of what we see in the media. I don't really care for them because I feel like they talk too much about their personal business, and I think some stuff you do keep at home. But I personally think Jada manipulates Will. He loves that woman so much. He even admitted that he has done everything he possibly could to keep her. And then Chris Rock, who already maligns and takes down black women in his jokes, like, he did a comedy show talking about how black men need to get with white women because they're submissive with no attitude. They cook, clean, do what you want. You tell her to go right, she gonna bust right, hit the cut, go left, run a football route for you. And I'm like, Chris Rock does make some inappropriate jokes against black women, so he was the wrong one. But Jada also somewhat manipulated Will into that situation. And I feel like that he's been manipulated into that situation for the past couple of years. It was just wrong place, wrong time, wrong stage. Dude, when you popped up and when it smacked him, you should have known something was going to happen. I will be honest, Will Smith is above the law. The average one of us would have got arrested. He is above the law, but is he above repercussions from his white colleagues? Probably not. Like, let's be honest, a simple assault misdemeanor, he probably going to do about 100 hours of community service. He's Will Smith, do it for some fancy charity and move on. Like, it was just the culmination of everything that's been going on, displayed on one of the biggest stages in the world.
Yeah.
Jada played her part. Chris was wrong. But Jada played her part into silently manipulating him into that moment. Will should have thought about his time and place, because the smack wasn't deserved. If he would have said, keep my wife's name out your mouth from his seat, okay, it was nice to see a black woman defended, but it was just the wrong type of defense in the wrong place. It was just an all-out mess.
Okay, so I definitely wanted to agree, and I meant to mention when Ajane was speaking, or when I responded to Ajane, that the joke was, from what I understand, off the cuff, so it wasn't something that was in the script that they had rehearsed. Also, you said a lot that I thought was very poignant, because there's a both and in this equation, but again, bad joke, good joke, it doesn't matter. It was a joke, and he even made sure that was understood as they all were laughing. And then the reaction was totally out of nowhere. I'm going to come around to you, Ebony, before I get to the rest of everybody. So give us a good response on what you thought or what you think.
Yeah, won't be long. As a woman with no hair, I do understand the challenges that women go through with their hair. I've had it long, relaxed, short. I thought I had no idea about her alopecia, and so I'm not sure if Chris Rock did either. And so, I don't think Will gave him the benefit of the doubt. There is an opportunity for, hey, I didn't know. Like, oh, an apology from Chris Rock would have been okay, or a way to get the justification that Jada needed. I do think that Will has some underlying, as we've talked, all their businesses out in the street. So there's some underlying stuff, and he had something to prove. He was giggling. And so she gave him that look. And again, I was like, oh, well, that's why he went up there. I don't think he would have went up there had she not given that look, because there was a pause there before he went up there. So I don't think he would have gone up there had she given that look. Now, I thought she was totally fly, and her hair is that, I mean, she is just gorgeous, period, to me. So I don't think that has a she's pretty. She's a beautiful woman. But Will has a platform. Will could have gotten up there and said, all of these wonderful things about his wife. And he is an eloquent speaker. He's a rapper. He can come up with stuff off the cuff. And that could have been the time for him to correct Chris, and it would have made Chris look bad, and he could have used that platform to uplift Black women and build that community. But he didn't. He made us look bad. And I talked to my son about it. It was a good table talk conversation, because my son wants to be rich, and so we're talking about wealth and investing and all that fun stuff, right? But then that was a conversation of, okay, well, when you get rich, you become more of what you are. And so if you're a kind person, you're going to become more kind. And I said, so see how he reacted when someone said something mean. My son has a hard time dealing with people who say mean things to him. He has a hard time with that. And so it was a good conversation to say, hey, you're going to become more of what you are. So if you do something like this, you become rich. Is this something that you would want to happen? Is this what you would want to do? You're not above the law just because you're rich. And it was good, what should happen to him? What do you think we should do? What do you think? Should he still get the award? It was a great family conversation just about wealth and what wealth can sometimes do and kind of cloud your judgment. Because he turned right around. I was listening to Steve Harvey this morning talking about it, or on a podcast. He turned around and just walked away because he knew like nothing was going to happen. Like he's Will Smith, and that wouldn't happen on the streets. That would not have happened on the streets. But he knew he had that platform. But he could have used his words and smashed Chris Rock and just made him look like a fool instead of him making himself look like a fool.
Yeah, well said. I appreciate you sharing, and especially the more personal side of things, with you actually doing what good parents do, engaging in current affairs with their children, because they're seeing everything just like we are.
Thing I just want to say real quick.
What you got?
Nicholas, I just want to say that Will also picked a softer target, because let's be honest, I grew up listening to Bernie Mac and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Like, if that would have been Bernie Mac, Eddie Murphy, even Cat Williams on that stage, he would have not have stepped. Do you understand me? If that were even Tiffany Haddish, who wouldn't make a joke like that, but even if Tiffany Haddish had made a joke similar, he wasn't going to step to no real hood booger who don't care. Because let's keep it hot. If he would have ran up on Bernie Mac or Eddie Murphy like that, they would have pulled something out and he would have been hurt. There would have been no stepping on that stage.
That's exactly what my next comment was going to be, in terms of the fact that Chris Rock probably weighs 160 pounds and is not known at all as an aggressive comic by any measure. So, I totally agree with that. I just hate that it happened, that it got to that point. Something that I thought and considered, and I'll say this and then move on to you, Bob. I thought, hey, if he took that moment to just lean over and kiss his wife's bald head and then look at the stage and give Chris the FU or the look of like whatever, then when he won the award, he could have confounded on that, confirmed on that he was not okay with that joke and celebrated his wife even more, maligning Chris in the best way that he could, not assaulting Chris. So that part, I think, just could have been handled better. Bob, I'm coming to you. what were your thoughts? And I might have one more chance to go around the space before it's over, because I knew it was going to be some good conversation.
Yeah, you know, I appreciate everybody's comments thus far on this, and I think that I think they're all valid. I think they're all valid for numerous reasons. I think that one thing that's not been touched upon is, I don't know what Chris Rock and Will Smith's relationship is, and so, you know, I feel like that Will Smith doing what he did it absolutely with an attitude of safe space. And I think that he did it, what I understand is, he interpreted Chris's joke, quote unquote, as reflecting on his wife's medical condition. I didn't hear it that way. I thought he was making comment relative to her G.I. Joe look, and so, and of course, I didn't know about her medical condition when I had that interpretation. I don't know whether Chris knows about her medical condition, but I think all of this reflects a very fragile, an emotional and ego fragile culture associated with entertainment. It's a slippery slope when it comes to this comedy thing. Chris does what makes him money. He echoes what feeds him money. He's not being a bad joke, sure. An extemporaneous joke, sure. But he wouldn't have said that if he didn't think that it would play well into his economic advantage. That's the way this entire culture operates. Same with the hip hop. Same with the music. Same with the we've created a world that reacts based upon how they're economically fed, and the kindness of that, not in the room. The cultural implications of that, not in the room. The sensitivity to things like hair, not in the room. It's because it's not about that. It's about a presumed understanding. And, you know, if we look at this and dissect it, so many things are wrong. Will Smith's emotional state is unhealthy. It's his unhealthy emotional state that caused him to get up and walk up on stage to begin with. What drove him to that? He says it was being offended by Chris's offense to his wife's medical situation. Okay, why so super sensitive? It's an entertainment world he lives in. It's a comic world that was going on. Why so super sensitive? Why is Jada a manipulative, I expect to see my husband defend me kind of woman? Maybe, I don't know. There's so many things about this that lay in there that we don't know. We do not understand the dynamic, but what we see is an eruption of something that doesn't come from a healthy place.
Yeah, I totally agree with that observation in terms of, if you're a detective that works for the police force and you come up on a crime scene, you're tasked with figuring out what happened. And it makes your job easier when you have video. So right. From a black and white standpoint, we know that Chris Rock was assaulted by Will Smith.
That's right.
Because of a bad joke. Now, when you do some analysis, as you're alluding to, Yeah, my first thought was immediately, Will's something's not right. And
Right.
then when he gave his speech after he received his Oscar, I was like, yeah, something's off. And I didn't think he was well. I think he needs some serious. I don't know. He might need a vacation.
Right. So I would argue Chris got slapped or popped. He took it. I was impressed with how he took it. I was impressed with how he reacted to it, quite frankly. Jada was arguably insulted. Did she interpret it that way? Or did she interpret Will's reaction as insulting to her? Or did she interpret it as applauding? I mean, we don't know these things.
Apparently, I must say this because of what you just alluded to, that money-making factor, the celebrity factor, we'll probably find out on the next episode of Red Table Talks, because I think they've decided they'll discuss it there, which tells us what? And that's what celebrity is. It's making sure you remain relevant and by some measure and able to make a profit. Chris Rock's latest stand-up shows the price of the tickets went up to $1,000. Not that this means this was contrived, but that's the benefit of this higher level. What was the old saying? There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
It's just all good publicity. Bob, I'm going to get with Julia and Gregory, catch Merrill, and then we'll go back around real quick because I have one burning question that I want to ask. And I really want to get back to Ebony, Ajane, and Celeste for that part because it is reflective of them. Julian Gregory, what were your thoughts on the matter? If you're even aware or were aware or just what you saw tonight, what are your thoughts?
Yes, we were aware, we didn't see it, but we've seen some of the news clips, and we did see Jim Carrey was real interested in Celeste's back history, didn't know about the Red Table Talk. And that explains a lot with Jada's, it does seem like it was manipulative on her part because he was laughing and then she gave him a look and then he went up and did the smack. I had the same thought that Felton and Bob about just being completely unbalanced, just off the rails. And that, like Ebony said, it could have been such a teaching moment. There's so many young people, you know, that look up to Will Smith. And so that was lost. The other thing that we haven't mentioned was Chris Rock was, I think you've heard us talk about Summer of Soul, but he was there to present for Questlove, who won for Summer of Soul. And that was all lost. So all, like Jim Carrey said, all the people that worked so hard, gone. You know, what we remember from this Oscars is Will Smith and Chris Rock. But I was so interested, especially to hear Celeste, Anjane, and Ebony talk, because I did hear Tiffany Haddish say that for white women, hair is a thing, but for what she said is for Black women, it is even more. It's and Gayle King said this too, you know, that, you know, they straightened it and they're supposed to look a certain way. And so she was, you know, kind of defending the reaction, not what he did, but she was defending that it was not at all an appropriate comment. But like you said, it was kind of off. He wasn't planning it, and he was kicked off the Oscars for his poor jokes. You know, he's been off the Oscars because that's what he does. Is it makes money, like Bob said. So much to unpack. That's it for me.
Oh, like Julia, I was very impressed with Celeste, Ebony, and Anjane, their comments and the female point of view. That was excellent. Got an education. Thank you, ladies. One thing that I would like to say about the situation, I think, is we saw what happens when someone has celebrity, money, power, They corrupt. They corrupt from the inside. It looked like he was a tortured man, a manipulated man, and in a toxic relationship. They need to get, in my opinion, for what it's worth, they need to get free of each other so they can heal. He needs some healing. She needs to go on to whoever her next target's going to be, and play out her life, and let it run out, and let the lessons come back. Will Smith got a lesson. He played out his inner demons, and he got it shown right back to him. What a better way to learn a lesson, a terribly painful way, but what better way? He can grow from this, as we all hope that we can grow from our mistakes. And I wish him well, because I think he's a good man. I think he's a good guy. It was interesting to hear from his own words about needing to protect, almost like a haunting. Something in his words were very telling, driven to protect. Protect what?
And I
And
think
from
there
who?
was something in his childhood with his father, that there were some issues there. And I think kind of Denzel Washington nailed it with, when you're at your height, that's when the devil can come in. There was some wisdom to that comment, it seems.
I had a mentor years ago who commented, looking at the worldview, he said, feel blessed that we are average. There is an advantage to being average in life, not having the wealth, not having the celebrity, not having the exceptional good looks, but be average and take advantage of that position, that platform. That's all. Thank you all.
I appreciate those observations and comments, and I too totally appreciate Ebony Ajane and Celeste's presence in this space, especially for this topic. I definitely have to agree when I say the middle's okay. Put that back up for me, Danya. Lisette says, thank you all for your perspective. My brain is running on all cylinders. Great to hear. So yeah, I think the middle's okay. And I mean that in a lot of different ways, Greg. I don't think that we have to attain something we can't hold on to. What was it? The cut off your nose, spite your face type attitude. I mean, beauty's fleeting. If you live long enough, it's going to go away. It's going to fade. So what are we valuing? That's conversations that we always have in this space, and we'll get back to those. Merritt, I'm going to come to you to get your take, and then I'm going to fly back around the space with the question that Gregory alluded to, and it's the bottom line of tonight's topic. But go ahead.
Yeah, man. Okay, I'll try to be brief. It's a lot to unpack. I mean, the comedy, first of all, like what's acceptable for comedians to do. I'm not. I mean, I think Chris Rock is funny. I'm not necessarily satisfied or happy with why he's white famous. I think about how he really got on with the black folks versus N-word stuff, and like people laughing at that a little bit too hard, or for ways that challenge some of the same reasons that Dave Chappelle decided not to do his show. The joke was a bad joke. I don't really give him any props for his behavior. I mean, for him not reacting to getting hit, because I mean, there's a 50, 60 pound difference. He would have got folded up like a chair. So that's that. And then the actual joke is G.I. Jane, can't wait to see it. You can't tell people how to interpret that, but he made a joke, and I get the sensitivity of, Will does a nervous laugh, Jada's not happy about it. They're definitely there's something about the Western standard of beauty that is an issue. I think about Grace Jones and how, like beautiful woman, amazing artist, but like people focus on her hair. Sinead O'Connor, like there's just something about like if you don't have it, like if you don't fit this standard, then like something's wrong with you. So like I totally get that whole energy. I'm super disappointed that there are folks that are excusing violence. I know Will, I don't know what, I can't say what's going on in Will's head, but there's no excuse for striking a person. There's none. For words. And I'm not 100% what was the motivation there. There definitely is some privilege. His life, the family's life, has been monetized like the Kardashians. There's a certain price that I guess you pay. I don't think it's fair, but if you monetize your family's life and your children's life, and I know everything that's going on about your the people, I don't know what's going on with Denzel's family. I don't know what's going on with Jim Carrey's family. So when you do that, when you sit up front at the Oscars, you're going to get teased or somebody's going to clown you. Is it right? I don't know. I don't make the rules. But I do know there are laws in this country and you can't assault people. And I am just upset. I mean, not upset, but I'm just so surprised that people are like, he should have got up and hit and defend his woman in that way. In that way. And I know the people who say that there are adults are not telling their children like that is acceptable behavior to assault somebody. Oh, he can afford it. He got the money. He can pay for the lawyers. It's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. You do not do that. But if you do it, there's a consequence for it. So it is what it is. And I would never take that one incident of him having that issue and like judge him totally for his weakest moment. So he's a human and he made a mistake. The other thing that I think about is, and I think we talked a little bit about this, I think if there's a personal thing, because Chris Rock and Jada and Will have some history, the Oscars So White 2016. Chris definitely is wild and says some wild misogynistic things. I mean, I 100% believe that. I do believe if Jimmy Kimmel comes out and does the same joke, Will's not getting up because he knows that he would be sitting in the back of a police car. But the thing that gives me, but the thing that I'm starting to see, and then one more thing just about this whole thing about the toxic masculinity of Will, man, I got to get up and do something and hit this person and then sit back down because I got to get this off because I got to take care of this. Stepping on Questlove's moment, the whole damn show is just messed up and has a cloud because I had to be a man. And you know that bothers me. But the thing that bothers me the worst, other than people excusing violence, is the misogyny and the post that I see about people talking about, he hit Will, he should have hit August Alsina. And when people start bringing that up and start talking about their marriage or talking about she did this, she did that, I am starting to see some people say some really interesting thing. And I'm like, do you hate women? Because what you're saying here, you hate women, you know that, right? About what you're saying, because there's like this thing about she embarrassed him, and so that's one of his things, and so like he had to do that, you know, or she influenced him in some way, like she's some uh I don't know, I'm losing, like, you know, whatever example, like he's some type of
voodoo priest.
yeah, some type of voodoo or something like that. There is just a lot of misogyny, and there are people that I respect and there are friends of mine that are saying some really wild stuff. I'm just like, you need to get that checked, bro, because like there's just some stuff that is really, really bothering me. So like, it's not so nobody can make an excuse and explain to me why it's okay to put your hands on somebody. You know, that's not cool to me. But it's the other stuff that is coming out, particularly about like their relationship and what she did to make him do that. He's a grown ass man, you know? So that's a lot of other messy thoughts I could go into, but it's a mess. And I can't stand by the people that are saying it's okay to get up and hit somebody. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you already know my position on that matter. I'll say this also about women's hair. I'm not a woman, so I don't have that. I know what a bad haircut is on myself. I know where I grew up. You better have some humility and a sense of humor and be self-deprecating at points because you get it. We ran the dozens, we cracked, and everything was on the table. Did not matter. If you woke up with a limp, nobody had sympathy for you. That's where I come from. But back to the woman's hair part, I know women and have known women who have short haircuts and rock it with confidence that leaves them beyond anybody's bad joke fodder. Ebony knows one of our former co-workers who been rocking a tight haircut forever, and you can't tell Myrna nothing. And that's how, hey, Grace Jones couldn't tell her nothing. So that's real. The confidence matters. If, again, there was another reaction to be had, Jada could have patted her head and said, and what? And gave him the look of what she is, a beautiful woman. I was glad to hear you guys make that observance. She did not look bad. I was like, what is this about? Why was this reaction warranted at all? So I'm coming back around the space. Give me a quick 90-minute, if it takes that, response to this question. Lisette says, thank you for lifting up how and why toxic masculinity is so problematic. That is a conversation that I think goes even deeper, because I've said on previous shows, and I say in what I do, in almost everything I do, Black men, and I did do a show here where we unpack this, Black men have yet to truly tap into any elements of patriarchy in this country, yet they are assigned toxic masculinity notions en masse. We almost the poster child for toxic masculinity when we don't necessarily have that connectivity to the patriarchy that exists and still exists in this country. That's another conversation, but that's another show. I already did that one, and we'll come back to it if we need to. But yeah, this is the question, and give it as much time as little time as you can, but get your point out. I'll start with you, Meryl, because I'm going to come back around the space. I want to end on Ebony, Ajane, and Celeste. How was this remotely reflective of protecting Black women? How was it? Because Chris Rock has daughters. Chris Rock has a mother, or had a mother. Chris, we don't get here without Black women by some measure, or women, period, overall. But I mean, if you're Black, you probably got a Black mama, or whatever the case may be. How was this remotely about protecting Black women? Because that's some of the celebrating notions. So, Meryl, go for it.
I think maybe it was like 10% of that was where he was protecting Jada. I think, if I had to guess, there's like 100 other things that's going on in that man's mind. The pressure to kind of be, who he is. There are, if you read his book, stories about he always felt like he wasn't man enough because he didn't help his mom when his dad beat his mom. And so like there's a part of him, and then people clown him. I mean, his rap stuff is whack. It's trash. It's not anything I like. But people clown him for. I think there's just a whole lot of stuff going on with that brother, and it, like it's very selfish. Stepped on my man's moment. There's a part of that where I think he was protecting not Black women in a pejorative, but like there was a thing where he wanted to defend his wife's honor. So like defending that Black woman, I think there was a small part of it. Most of it is like there's some other stuff I think is going on, and what he did was just selfish and about other stuff. And maybe I guess if I've taken the context that in his book talking about he felt like a coward because he didn't help his mother when she was getting beat. So that's all going on in his head, at least I think. But as far as like he did some grand gesture for the culture, no.
Yeah, so great answer in my opinion, because it was a limited, if any, and that's arguable. And I can't wait to get to the other folks in this space. How was this about protecting Black women? Julia Gregory, what do you got?
We completely agree with Meryl that it didn't seem to champion Black women. I think he wanted it to, that it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that at all.
That's
Appreciate that. You got something, Greg?
No, sir.
Okay, and I wanted to make sure I did highlight. I did recall, Julia, you recommending that film. I haven't watched it yet, but when everything, the dust settled, I was like, oh, that's the film that Julia was talking so highly of. So I'll have to go back and check out some of. So, Bob, what you got? Just quick, fast, dirty. What?
Yeah, I don't think, in truth, this was about protecting Black women at all. I think, in truth, this was about a lot of unhealthy stuff going on, and I think that, yeah.
Okay, Ebony, this is where it gets good. You guys really are Black women, so I want to know: did you identify in any capacity with this being a measure of protection for you?
For Black women, no, maybe for Jada, but not for me. I didn't feel any more proud of my shortcut than I do now. Like he had the opportunity to really lift up Black women. He did not. I didn't feel any pride in what he did. I didn't feel any protection. I mean, nothing. So no, I didn't feel any more proud or less proud about my hair. So I love my hair.
Your close cut looks awesome.
Thank you.
Ebony's an awesome individual. She just is. I appreciate you. Ajane, your thoughts? Was there anything remotely about what happened protective of Black women?
So I think that it brought up it sincerely warrants a conversation about what the protection of Black women should look like, and what it needs to look like. And so it frankly, we have all of these divergent meanings about what protection looks like. And we have to get on one accord spiritually. Spiritual protection, when you love someone, is protecting them even from the worst parts of yourself, including other people. And so we have to get to the point where, as Black women, we set a standard for what that looks like, according to spiritual protection and physical protection. And as a community, we have to get on one accord about what it looks like. The brothers have to tell us what they think. We have to tell them what we think. And then we just need to consort with God, frankly, because one thing we cannot do is continue to define protection as something that's putting us in the hands of our oppressor time and time and time again. Some of these ways that we have learned are from our oppressor and not from our cultural ways. And so, and it's not righteous at all. And so that, I think the fact that we don't know, I think the fact that some people feel like it is and some people feel like it isn't is precisely the problem, that we need to get on one accord with what that looks like. And we just have to learn how can I say this? I'm not trying to indoctrinate anyone, but we have to learn how the enemy comes to us to get us to react so that we can be placed in the hands of our oppressor again. Because what this has allowed a lot of people to do was to continue to try to dignify alternative facts and stereotypes about Black men, when those things don't align. I was raised by a slew of Black men that were soldiers, that were strong but gentle. I love to say all the time, my father was a field artilleryman and could do my hair. And so like the gentleness that comes out, right? Some of the sisters in here are like, yes. So yeah, Dad, shout out to you. I know he's watching. But we have to get on one accord about what spiritual protection looks like. Otherwise, we're going to continue to try to protect based on anger, based on wrath, and those things can be utilized to control us by people that want to destroy Black families, people that don't want to promote the Black family structure, and by people that want to continue to push false narratives about who we are in essence and who we are in spirit.
Ajane is one of my favorite people. All of you are, but Ajane's, I don't get to see her very often. So I'm so glad that you're able to make it tonight, share the time and the space. I look forward to seeing you when you make it back to NC. I'll say this, she knows my thesis because we were at Central together. And yes, this was something that does not have to be totally prescribed. It's not a good look for the Black community, but it's a continuation of exploitation. It's as you guys have known in this space, I've conducted conversations that are wholly about the continued exploitation of Black Americans. And I think that's at the core of what Ajane is speaking of. We're susceptible to it. And by measure, we make profits from it. So what's elevated and celebrated and propagated by the media is not necessarily reflective of the true life of Black Americans. But there's a lot of money to be made if you're willing to be exploited or exploit yourself, or all of the above. Celeste, take us home. Your thoughts. Was this remotely about protecting Black women?
Absolutely not. Will Smith did not do that for Black women. He did it for himself and Jada. Merrill was right when he was talking about Will's accountable for his actions. But learning about his book in XYZ, I want to say Will is a broken man. Will wanting to protect his mother. And Jada is his wife. She knows all his breaks, all his cracks. He's probably shared things with her that none of us will ever know. And so she knows how to activate him in a way that none of us will never understand. And when he got up there and gave that speech talking about protecting, it goes much deeper than that moment. And while he is accountable for his own actions, I believe that she knew how to trigger him. And as much as her feelings may have been hurt by that joke, his reaction, although she probably didn't think it would be that extreme, and she had a right to be upset, something happened in his brain when she was offended that led him to believe that that was his moment, and he went to protect Jada. Because all he did for Black women was have white women wondering what's on with our hair and why we shave it. And I guarantee in the next 2 weeks, there's going to be a white woman that asks me something about my weave or tries to stick her hands in it because Will has now got them fascinated with Black hair. Like, that is honestly where we are at. Will did nothing for Black women. He did not protect he protected Jada, but he did not protect us. And basically, I feel like he just tried to grandstand his manhood, which is just toxic masculinity. I don't even know. Honestly, my opinion, I'm sick of hearing about it because it was a hot mess on wheels. Like, I ain't really got nothing for it other than that.
I don't have a moment of disagreement in anything you said. I did not think at all it was reflective of any measure of protection of Black women. Again, Chris Rock has daughters. What did he just do to their father? Embarrass him in front of millions of people. So how in the hell is that protecting his daughters? How is that by any measure protecting anybody to be that reckless? It was terrible. It's terrible behavior. I'll never see it another way. I thought it was atrocious that he was celebrated, that he received standing ovations and hugs from these people. I thought it was terrible that nobody, especially some of his peers, Black men in particular, didn't comment on it. That bothered me also. Didn't make any strong comment that countered what he did.
I guarantee you, no
Felton,
other Black man.
I did want to mention real quick. The Academy did ask him to leave.
They did, and he didn't. He refused to leave. And let's get this last point out too. From my understanding, this was the first time that the show was produced by Black producers, Will Packer and his people.
It was like an all-Black staff.
Yeah, it was A&T. There were a couple of A&T. I think the King and Queen Homecoming King and Queen were
Mr. and Mrs. A&T were there.
Yeah,
they were presenters.
But you know, we need to talk about that too, because I think I don't know if Regina Hall wrote her own jokes, but like that whole
terrible. I told that's why I said it
over sexualized, and it was really extra.
Will Smith did what he did, but I don't think any other Black man out there will ever walk up to another Black man and smack him in his jaw and think he gonna walk away okay.
It's security down now. Don't worry about that. It's security down.
That was Will Smith's moment.
Yeah, it'll be different. It'll be different going forward. Ebony, you get the last word.
Well, I think he did, and I think he took away our protection. To be honest with you, I think what he did was he gave the image. He's got money now. He's got money, and it makes it look like, you know, this is how Black men are. They are with money or without money. This is the portrayal. This is how they are. They're violent. They're scary. And so now, when my husband goes out in the street, or when I'm with my husband, that protection is there, but it's gone. He's kind of tainted that opportunity for my protection, because now my husband can't be that protective or say something or whatever, because he's that angry Black man. So I feel like he's actually kind of taken us back a little bit, because now we're at a point where we're kind of starting over. You've got money, you've got this clout, you've got these books, and you're still acting like the angry, the Black brute, and it's made it worse. And it's, how can we fix this? Now, Chris Rock, he was the Black man who, he did stand, he didn't retaliate. So I guess that can kind of counteract what Will did, but it just makes, I think it took some of that protection away from us.
Yeah, I thought it was just a terrible look. And you're kind of alluding to now your husband's potential chivalrous act that may be required can be reinterpreted. And again, we'll debate why someone is is allowed to assault or belittle or malign a black man, we'll debate the reasoning for it as opposed to the atrocity associated with the act. We'll say, well, what did he do to deserve it? Because what this conversation boils down to, by some measure, is that people are actually saying, as Meryl was communicating so well, Chris Rock did something to deserve what happened to him. He did not. That's the bottom line of this discussion, in my opinion. That's why I decided to have it in this space, because we're not about the gossip and the tea sipping. We're trying to really wrestle with what it is to be a human being in certain spaces and in these boxes. But I thought that this would be a great show. I was absolutely right. So, 100% right. Sometimes I get it right. This was a great show. I appreciate everybody who showed up tonight. I appreciate Ebony, Ajane, Celeste for giving us insight into what it is to be a black woman and to be considered and to not be considered and to see something like this and actually have a nuanced take. I was not pleased at what Tiffany had to say about the situation. I thought it was terrible. And for her to be a comedian, it made absolutely no sense. So go find it if you want to. She justified it. She celebrated. She said Will and Jada were her friend, and she wasn't nice to see a black woman defended by her husband. What? She's a comedian. Let somebody run up on the stage and hit her because she made a bad joke. Terrible. We in a weird
Tiffany
way.
can fight, so that ain't gonna happen.
Hey, maybe 2 or 3 people will run up there. See what happens. But anyway, y'all have a wonderful night. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's always nice to go over time and nobody ran off. So everybody have a wonderful evening and take care. And we'll catch you in 2 weeks. We'll get back to the mental hygiene question. Have a wonderful evening.